My name is Scott Evans with Mulholtz Nursery here in Omaha, Nebraska. And today we're going to talk about seed starting. Seed starting is an inexpensive way to get your herbs and vegetables up and going so you have something to go outside when the time comes. The first thing that you need to do or think about when you're going to start your seeds is what type of container are you going to be using? How many plants do you really want to grow this season or before the season starts? There are quite a few different options out there. The two most popular options are peat pots. This is where you can directly sow one plant into the peat pot, and this can actually go outside into the ground once the time becomes favorable. Another option are the peat pellets. These expand when you add water, and then you can directly put these into the ground outside. And if you plan to grow a lot of plants, the growing them in flats is another popular way to go. Either way is a good method, just depending on how many plants you're going to grow this season. Next thing to go with seed starting is what type of potting mix are you going to use. There are quite a few different mixes out there nowadays, and you want something that does not have a fertilizer. A lot of times that excess nitrogen in the fertilizer can cause the plant to burn or stump the plant, maybe even affect it to where it won't grow. I like to use is the seed starting mix made by Perlite. It's a finer grade sphagnum moss, and the perlite vermiculite is a finer grade as well. But before you put these in your container, it's a good thing that you want to pre-moisten them. You want to get it damp before you even put the seeds into them. So what you want to do is pick your container of choice. If we're going to go with the flat, just go ahead and fill up the cells as such. Fill them up to the very top. And then you just take your fingers and you just shake off the excess soil on the top. If you want to use the peat pots, again, you're just going to fill them straight up to the top, like so, and then just take your finger and brush them off. And once you're done filling up your containers, you can either water them or you can actually pre-moisten the potting mix into that. And then once you get them wet, you're going to notice why it's a good thing to pre-moisten your potting mix. The sphagnum moss likes to bubble up. It will actually come up out of the soil, out of the container. And if you already have your seeds in there, you can actually lose your seed. It can actually go deeper into the potting mix, or it might go into the container next to it, or it might even fall out. Some of the seeds are very small, so you got to be careful with that. So once you have them pre-moistened, then we can start the seeding process. There are a lot of different seeds to grow, plants that you can grow inside. The more popular ones are like your vegetables and herbs. The tomato plant, tomatoes are pretty popular to grow, so that's what we're going to be doing today. What you want to do is pick your seed, and you need to look at it, find out if you have to do anything special to it. Some seeds require to be pre-moistened 24 hours overnight. Sometimes you might have to take a nail file and scratch the seed coat. So just read the label. The label is going to tell you if you have to do anything special. A lot of times the seeds are very small, so you might want to make sure that you know what you're working with because they can actually fall through your fingers. So after you get your choosing your seeds and filling up your container, then we actually start putting down the seeds. I like to cut open the package. This enables me to fold it over and save the package for next year. Seeds can actually have a shelf life for 3 or 4 years because you get a lot more seeds than you actually need. Then you just take out the seeds, gently pour them into your hand, and then you just drop 1 or 2 into each individual cell. And as you're doing that, you've got to be careful with the depth. You don't want to push them down too deep, or else they might not germinate, or they might struggle to come up out of the soil. And you don't want them too shallow. You don't want them on the top of the soil. because they'll dry out very easily. So a lot of times I'll just put them on the surface of the soil and just gently brush some of the soil on top of it. Once that's done, I like to take as a mister and just gently mist the top of the soil, so that way you make sure that the seed settles down into that very top layer of the potting mix. After you have everything done, it's a good idea to label it, because if you're doing multiple varieties of plants in one flat, you want to make sure that you know what you have, because when they start coming out, they all look the same. So just take a plastic popsicle stick or something of that nature, just write down the name and the date, and then just stick it into the actual flat. And when you're done with that, we covered the seeds. We just put a plastic dome over it, and we want to keep them covered until they start to germinate. And germination might take anywhere from 7 to 10 days, maybe up to 21 days, depending on the variety of the plant that you are growing. And once they start to germinate, you take off the lid so that way they can get air around them, and that helps them harden up. And then once that's done, you end up with these. And these are your little baby plantlets. These plants were started on the 5th of February, so they're just now starting to come up. So as you can see, we planted multiple seeds in one container, because sometimes we'll divide them out, or sometimes not all the seeds will germinate. So that way you're kind of guaranteed success as you're going through. And what's really important with seed starting is the light. There are a lot of options out there nowadays. And the two main types are incandescents, which are your traditional light bulbs, and your fluorescent lights. Incandescent bulbs are as old standard as standby. You can get them in a lot of these little nice shop light clamps. But with incandescent lights, they have a very short or small radius of light that they're going to light up. So you might actually need 2 or 3 depending on how big of an area that you're going to be working in. And the bad thing about incandescents is that they produce heat. And you have to keep the lights fairly close to the seedlings. And if it's too close, the heat can actually dry up or burn the plants. A better option that I like to use is the fluorescent lights. They come in 2-foot tubes, 4-foot tubes, and so on. Most of us are familiar with the old shop lights out there, so there are quite a few different options. And the nice thing about this is a 2-foot light. It will actually go right over the flat, so you have good coverage from end to end. So that way all your seedlings are getting adequate light. And then, like I said, the lights need to be about fairly close to the top of the flat, anywhere from 3 to 6 inches from the top of the container. And once that's done, when your seedlings are up and going, you want to, before you actually take them outside, you need to harden them off. And what that means is that you need to actually take the flat plants outside for a couple hours in the shade once the daytime temperatures are adequate, around that 60-degree mark. So that way the plants can adjust to being outside. If you just take your plants and stick them in the ground, they probably have too much shock, too different of an environmental change, so your plants might not adapt as quickly as we would like, and they could fail. So harden your plants off, take them out for a couple hours every day, bring them back in, and do that for about a week or 2, so that way they can acclimate to the outside environment. Following these easy steps should make your growing process very successful. You can always give us a call or shoot us an email, and we'd be more than happy to help you out.